Sicha, but it's on this week's Parsha, very pertinent to time of year, so we'll try to get through it in the two classes.
Do you guys have copies?
Yeah. So Parsha Vayzchanu.
What's the Parsha?
Parsha Vayzchanu. Ve'etchana. Aleph. In this heintige Seder state, this week's Parsha it says, as Oz Yavdam Moshe Shalish Arim Begamer, Lomus Shamar Ritzeach, Vestas is their Indian Fun Arim Mikvat. This week's Parsha, we read about how Moses set aside 3 cities of refuge for someone who murdered to run to.
Weren't there more than 3?
There were not. There were 6, and 3 more after when Mashiach comes. So basically, the cities of refuge, the idea was that if a person murdered another, then he would run there. The reason he had to run there is because the closest relative of the murdered, is allowed to kill him, to avenge the blood of his relative, according to the Torah. So, until there's a court case, once there's a court case, so then they decided whether he was guilty or innocent and so on. But before the court case, he's allowed to avenge the blood. So this person will have to run to the city of refuge, and in this city of refuge, he was not allowed to be touched. There are certain cities of refuge, 6 of them, and there you're not allowed to touch him. And then there's a whole kinds of discussions in halacha. What if he's standing on the tree, and the branch is going out of the city of refuge, but the trunk is in the city of refuge? Is he considered in the city of refuge or not? Are you allowed to kill him or not? And if you do, all kinds of halachic discussion about the city of refuge. But that was the point of the city of refuge. There you are not allowed to be touched. Yeah.
Wasn't it someone he killed accidentally?
Well, we don't know why he killed and how he killed. So he, regardless of what happened, he runs there and he's protected.
But what about
if he killed accidentally? He stays there until the Kohen Gadol dies.
Why would there be a concept of avenging blood if you can't, and the concept of Ar Mikla at the same time?
If what? You're not allowed to take revenge?
Yeah.
Well, you're not allowed to take the law into your own hands, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but there is a Sefer HaChinuch, which explains the reason behind every single one of the mitzvahs. Yeah. And he tried to explain it to his son, who had lots of questions in life. And I'm sure he gives an explanation. I'll just see if he...
You have the book on your phone?
Yeah, but I think it'll be very different. Also, I feel like
also gives
most
people an option.
don't really want to take revenge in that way, unless you do. But okay, but I mean, look, most people wouldn't want to decide, okay, I'm going to kill you now. You want to feel like you would, but then you would feel bad after. So why would killing is an extreme thing? So.
Someone killed you.
Yeah, if you can't kill.
Your child, it would be very, very difficult to condemn yourself.
Yeah, but you wouldn't necessarily want to kill that person.
You might feel
Well,
I would imagine you would want
to.
to.
You want to hurt them, but yeah, a lot. You would want very much. At that moment,
but the best way of getting revenge is living a better life. No. Yeah, that's what we learned in the video.
Beautiful. Such good theories.
You practically.
Here the mothers are giving us real practical advice. To let out your pain.
Very, very difficult thing to debate.
I thought we're not supposed to give the reason for mitzvahs, no?
Well, no, that's not the ultimate reason, but you're supposed to try to figure out as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't find it, but anyway, I'm sure there's some kind of explanation.
Where is this book online? Is that what you're looking at? I'll have to check that out.
Where is it? You can't get it to that.
Really?
Yeah. Sefer HaChinuch.
And it goes to all mitzvahs according, what order?
The order of the parshas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that can...
You should learn Sefer HaChinuch? Yeah. I can't find it. Anyway. All right, so that was the Ari Miklat. Remember, as a kid, this is like 1980, the 80s. A friend of mine and myself, I was in Israel, and we were trying to work out exactly what this business is of 3 extra cities of refuge when Mashiach comes. No one's going to kill when Mashiach comes. Why do you need cities of refuge? We were just about to write to the Rebbe, because I was just thinking back to it. Like, you have a big question, you wrote to the Rebbe. Anyway, unfortunately, we didn't. But the Rebbe deals with it in the Sicha. Why when Mashiach comes, will have to be cities of refuge? I think one of the explanations is for all the people who killed during exile, they have to be there at least temporarily. So to fit all of those, there will be death when Mashiach comes. Okay, so that's what the parsha speaks about, the 3 cities of refuge. Die Wegen, welche führen zu die Ore Miklat, seine gewährten Drachim zu können. The paths, the ways, the roads that took you to cities of refuge were very established roads, well paved. Sie seine gewährten breit, 32 Island. They were 32 hours wide. They were extremely wide roads. Now, if jeder Parshas Drachim is given a shield, in every crossroad there was a sign, Miklat, Miklat. This is the way to the city of refuge. In order to make it easy and accessible for people to get to the city of refuge. So it was very wide roads, very nice roads with clear directions. One wrong turn could cost you your life, literally. Since it was like this physically, obviously the same is true with the spiritual cities of refuge. Was das seine divrei Torah, wie es steht divrei Torah kyote, zu dem ruchnische gehörig nefesh, wie man hat gehört im Eimer, sein Farad die alle Praten. So says the Rebbe, there's also spiritual cities of refuge. There's not only physical, but also spiritual. So there's certain people that murder spiritually. What does it mean to murder spiritually? To do a sin. Why is sinning murdering spiritually? Because you're basically taking energy of your godly soul and feeding it, spilling its blood to the animal soul. You're using your good holy energy and putting it into the klipa. So you're spilling blood. So that every sin is like a spiritual murder. And you need cities of refuge if you did a sin. What's the city of refuge? Torah. Torah is a city of refuge. And just like the physical cities of refuge were clearly marked and easy roads, the same is true with the spiritual city of refuge, that there's clear directions of how to get there. And now, the Rebbe is going to go off on a tangent, so to speak, which will take us a couple of paragraphs. And we'll get back to the point of the spiritual cities of refuge shortly. But first, the Rebbe is going to take issue of something we just said. We said just like the physical cities of refuge work this way, so too there's a spiritual idea of cities of refuge. Says the Rebbe, the truth is it should be the opposite. Everything starts in the spiritual realm. We should say just like there's spiritual city of refuge, so too there's also an idea of a physical city of refuge. That's the way it really is. But I was going to show, but yeah, that's the way it really is. But we didn't merit to see things that way. And the Rebbe will give examples of some of the Rebbes who did see things that way. So we'll look inside. The truth is that the opposite is really the way things work. It's not, since there's a physical city of refuge, therefore there's also a spiritual counterpart. The opposite is true. The Iker Indian is in Ruchnis. The main thing is spirituality. That's where things start. While their Indian is in Ruchnis, because there is the spiritual idea of a city of refuge, it expresses itself also in the physical realm. But the starting point is the spiritual realm. As Avius were declared, my favorite class, whenever you turn the page, there's a kid who says, we turn the page. So, as Avius were declared in Shalom, as it's explained as Shalom, if there was Hatera Medaberes with Nachterim Remember this Valienim, As be'emes is ha-Torah medaberes b'alyanim. Mirnam in dem remes was is shaykh to tachtonim. The truth is that the Torah speaks about spiritual things, but it also alludes to physical things. So that's what we take out of it. For example, when the Torah gives a law about an ox, they caught a cow, and the fetus was found next to the cow, whatever it is. We want to figure out whether he's responsible. The owner of the ox is responsible. It's really talking about spiritual things. There's a spiritual aspect of an ox, a spiritual aspect of a cow. It's a spiritual discussion. It also alludes to the physical idea.
So the emphasis on the spiritual.
The emphasis on the spiritual. The same is true. It says two people are grabbing at a garment. One says, I found it. The other one says, I found it. So the law is that they have to divide it. The truth is, that's talking about two souls that are fighting over sparks. Who elevated the sparks? Who was the one who used this for the sake of heaven and gets the right to those sparks? They're fighting over it. Each one said, I elevated it. Sorry? And so everything starts in the spiritual realm. And that's the emphasis, yeah. And then it also translates into the physical.
I thought Torah la b'shamayim that it's always talking. It's meant for this physical world.
Yeah.
You can understand the physical word through the spiritual.
The other way around.
Like if he's talking about the whole tzitzit thing, then you can understand the songs that will help you in the physical world as well.
Right. But we see physical things. We don't see spiritual things. So it'd be easier to understand spiritual from physical things. So you think the emphasis is on the physical things.
Okay, so the emphasis is on the physical for us, you're right. But what's the starting point? Where do all things come from? The spiritual. God decided that it should come all the way to the physical, and that should be the main point. But essentially, it's not that because this exists in the physical realm, therefore it also is in the spiritual. No, it starts in the spiritual. That's where things begin. That's where everything is. And it also gets translated to the physical. You're right. Like God said, that therefore we have to put a focus on the physical, but that doesn't make the physical the source of everything. It's not like the cities of refuge in the physical realm, so therefore there must be, there's also. It's not there's also. There is in the spiritual realm. And from there it comes to the physical.
So it's not happening at the same time.
Yeah, it is happening at the same time. Why are you thinking that it's not happening at the same time?
Because you said it happens there and then it comes down. So I thought maybe it came down to certain channels and then there's a delay. But no, it's happening parallel at the same
simultaneously.
time.
Yeah,
Spiritual things are not bound by time.
If there's a tree growing here, there's a tree up there. Not physical, but spiritual. If it's raining here, it's raining in every spiritual world, whatever that means. Und also wie das ist in allen Inyanim Torah, also ist echt der Inyan von Arei Miklat, just like it's by all aspects of Torah, the same is true by the cities of refuge, als die alle Prati Inyanim, was seine voran in Gashmistik Arei Miklat, seine voran in die Ruchnistik Arei Miklat. All things that are in the physical cities of refuge are also in the spiritual cities of refuge. And Adarab, on the contrary, the Ika von den Inyanim seien in Ruchnis. It starts in the spiritual realm. Through a journey down here, it comes also into the physical. Had we merited, we would merit to see it from its source. Das heißt, we would understand the way it is in the spiritual realm. As we would understand from the spiritual to the physical. We won't look at the physical world and say, hey, this is the physical world, must also be in the spiritual world. It would work. If we merited, we would have seen it would have been exactly the opposite. We would see how things are spiritually and automatically conclude from there how things have to be in the physical realm. Everything in this world you can take from an above to below approach. Meaning to see them the way they are in their spiritual source. And automatically from there understand that it must be also true in the physical. The Rebbe is now going to illustrate this point with a story. But it's an important point. When you look at a tzaddik sees the way things are in their source. So therefore they can have insight in every area of life, in business, in health, in everything, because they have an insight that's much more than anyone in this world, because everyone in this world works backwards. People who only see physical, even the greatest of doctors, see things backwards. They see They look at data, they look at facts on the ground, what happens, and then they try to reach and figure out what's causing this.
And they can barely figure out that even.
Yeah, and they figure out certain things. I mean, the medicine has definitely made a lot of progress, but it starts. They're working backwards. A tzaddik is working the right way around. He sees how it all starts, so he's way ahead of them in every area. He's way ahead of anyone. The greatest genius, who's limited to the physical, which is unless they're a holy man, that's what they're limited to. That they don't come close to the insight that a tzaddik has. So the Rebbe gives a story to bring out this point. The previous Rebbe once told over, as I father, that his father, the Rebbe Nishmaseid, the previous Rebbe, like did well leiden, als men is in Bafsik zwischen waschen sich zum Essen und Birchas HaMaitzim. The Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, did not like when people disturbed him between washing for Hamaitzi and starting to eat his bread. Hagamaz al-Pidin hastes a hefsek. Dibur Adar Azvan Dafka. Even though according to law, Jewish law, you have to actually speak or wait for a while for it to be considered a break between the blessing and the eating. So it's not a big deal if people, if there's a little bit of a break, if it's not an extended period of time and no one spoke, seemingly it's fine. For Desmay, nevertheless, reflected and well-minded, as when his imafsik afilu nor b'machshavte, zwischen the tilasetayim and birchas hamatzim. He did not bear. He didn't like when people stopped him at all, even in thought, between washing his hands and hamatzim. He wanted to wash his hands and go straight to the bread. He didn't want to have any other distractions. Forget about speaking. Even someone motioning something to him he didn't want. In the year Tafresh Nun Dalid or Nun Hey, in the years Nun Dalid Nun Hey, so we're talking about 1894, 1895. Haben die Medizin-Professor in Oiski von den Anayim Oder in Moyach, the great doctors, medical professors, found a new vein in the brain. Was der Oder helped to Zikaron und zu Vertiefung. This vein or blood vessel helps memory and in-depth thinking. This was discovered in the late 1800s. Einer von den Rebbeis, one of the household members, hat das erzählt mit großes Spalus zu Heidchak Amur Harahak Marsham Mayes. One of the family members told over this exciting piece of information to the Rebbe Rashab during the meal. He heard, but he didn't say anything. Nothing mentioned. But when he finished benching, he said, he asked everyone to wait at the table for a few moments. He went to his study. He brought out of his study a small book of Chassidus. It was a manuscript of the second Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Mittler Rebbe. Und hat gewiesen, als es wäre dort in 6, 7 Schuras gebracht wegen dem Oder. He showed how there in a manuscript of the previous of the Mittler Rebbe, it speaks about this vein in 6 or 7 lines. Now, that means about 50 years or 75 years before the medical professors discovered this, there was already in a mimer of the Mittler Rebbe. The previous Rebbe there, the Mittler Rebbe there explains, as this is Faran and other that there's a certain blood vessel in the brain, Eres Mali eating, which is full of different cells. And those cells move back and forth. It helps memory and in depth. And he says like this, he writes in that Maimar, there are when this vein and blood vessel heads towards the brain, which is used for intellect, helped us to zikaron. Sorry, when it goes to the part of the chachma and bina, it helps you. The brain is divided into three. There's chachma, bina, and das. There's also in the brain. There's different parts of the brain. There's the cold, wet part. There's the dry, warm part. So when it goes to the chachma and bina part of the brain, which is the back of the brain, helps us to zikaron. It helps you to have memory. But as by gegen sich to dem Zeit from Bayach Das, when it goes to the part of the brain, which is the Das part, which is the front of the brain, helped us to Amak and helps you think in depth. Therefore, and he continues to explain that therefore we see, as wenn a Mensch will sich auf etwas der Bonnen, if a person wants to remember something, what's the body language? If you want to remember something, what do you do? Hype their cup, you lift up your head, you think back. That's what you do. When you want to remember something, you think back. When er will sich, then we're all self-conscious of it, but that's when er will sich in etwas vertiefen, if you want to think about something in depth, bite their eye in the cup, you think like that, you put your head down. And this the Mitchell Rebbe explained 50 to 70 years before the medical professors found this thing. So that's what the Rebbe Rashab wanted to show everyone. They were all excited about this. He said, it's nothing new. We already know it from Chassidus. Had been gefragt by Hoyd Chaka Amur HaRahak. So the family members asked the Rebbe Rashab, is the Hoyd Chaka Amur HaRahak given a grace professor? So if so, the Mittel Rebbe was a big doctor, a big professor. But if the Hoyd Chaka Amur HaRahak effort, the Rebbe Rashab answered, Hoyd Chaka Amur HaRahak hat das gewusst. While in Adam Ha'elyon is das Faran. He knew it not because he was a big professor, because he knows the image of God above, and there's that blood vessel exists. That concept of a blood vessel. The male is das beim Adam Lamata Zicharichta. Obviously, it's also the physical person. So he knew it from the spiritual realm. He knew how the word created the image of God. So by the image of God above, there is such a blood vessel that he understood. So he knew that obviously the same thing exists by man. Doctors only found it later because they had to, but he knew it from its source. And there's other stories like that. There's some Tanaim that were able to do electricity to make. I don't know exactly where that went and why it was only Thomas Edison there. Tanaim, yeah. Why it was only later discovered, but they obviously knew it from its source, the spiritual realm. Whereas those who discovered here had to figure it out in the physical. They're working backwards. It takes a lot longer.
Someone should write these things up.
Yeah, is there like a
Everyone
list of
together.
like scientific discoveries from like years and years beforehand?
There's a lot of things, but people think it takes a while for people. Like, for example, the idea that Torah says that the sun goes around the earth. Science doesn't agree with that at this point. So some people have an issue with that. So that means that, like, it's a big problem for them. Torah says that, but how could that be true? It's not true. Science says the world is however many billion years. The Torah says it's not. It's 5775. So it'll take them time. But there's a lot of examples like that.
Did you hear about the Modani one?
Doesn't matter.
Apparently, because when you sit up right away, blood goes to your head and you can get like a rush, like your head is whatever, a bit dizzy. But someone just discovered recently that if you wait 11 seconds, I think it was, then it makes you a bit more smooth. So apparently there's 11 words in Modani, it's 11 or 12. And if you say them properly, the proper kavana, you're anyways getting out of bed slowly.
12 words.
12 words.
But it's brought in halacha that you shouldn't jump out of bed. It says it's dangerous
I
to
thought
jump
you
out
meant
of
to
bed.
jump out of bed like a lion.
You're supposed to wake up like a lion, but don't jump out of bed.
Like a leopard or whatever.
Versus in Modani, you shouldn't jump quickly out of bed. Wake up like a lion. You're up. So, but get up and say Modani like a lion. And then after you say Modani, then you get out of bed. But it says it's dangerous to jump out of bed right away. It says a person who jumps out of bed right away is closer to death than to life.
Wow.
So you got to do it slowly.
Why? Is there a
It's
reason?
dangerous. Well, you just heard that. Even scientifically,
can just imagine it's Sahara taking note of that and stretching it longer. It's still a little bit more, let's just say.
Wake up right away. Same way you're not right away. But then, take a few seconds before you jump out. Okay, so that was an example of where we see that those who merit get to see the source, how it starts in the source. And from there, they can deduce how it works in this world. And that's even regarding things that are not clearly in Torah, this vein, or what's going on in the supernal man, by God. Mikol Shekin, how much more so Yanim was in Torah, things that are actually written in Torah can definitely be understood the other way around, from above to below. Does he snem the Yanim in Ruchnius, understand them spiritually? Therefore, now raise them in Eichin Gashmis. And from there, you also bring it down to the physical. As I stated in the Geras HaKodesh, it says in Tanya, regarding the Torah study when Mashiach comes, as from Ruchnius that from the spiritual things we'll also understand how it works physically. But we did not merit to that. We have to work the other way around. We have to see how they are physically. And for them, and then they take a lesson spiritually. That's how we are. If you're a Rebbe, then you can see it the other way around. If you did merit to that, so you have to work with the things that we see physically. And then from there, climb higher. So that's really a bracket. That was all a tangent just to bring out a certain point. But what we're saying is that the city of refuge, we see that physically there were cities of refuge. We understand all the details around those cities of refuge. So from there we can deduce that the same will be applied to the spiritual city of refuge, which is the Torah study. And now the Rebbe will start showing how the spiritual city of refuge, you have this whole idea. As in Gashmis, pflegen doch die Ore Miklat helfen, nicht nur a Heilig Nefesh beschädigen, nor euch a Heilig Nefesh bemeisen. Just like the physical cities of refuge, they protected not only a person who killed accidentally, but even a person who killed intentionally. Even a person who killed intentionally had to run to the city of refuge. Until the investigation was done. So that at least for the meanwhile, this relative should not kill him. So it protected even a person who killed intentionally, at least temporarily, until the court case. The same is true spiritually. The words of Torah protect even a person who kills intentionally. Meaning someone who goes and outright sins on purpose. There are sins that are done accidentally, and there's sins that a person outright he did a sin. He knows he's doing a sin and he did it purposely. But even such a person, Torah protects. But as in Gashmish, just like physically, is Oisher dem was die Wegen, was flangen führen zu die Ore Mikla sein, gewinnt Drachen zu können und breite Wegen. Gedeas der Etzeach soll kennen laufen gering to the Ore Miklat. So just like spiritually, physically, the roads were easy roads to reach because we want to make it very accessible for the murderer to get to the city of refuge. But in addition to that, every crossroad had a sign to advise the way to life and to show the ways where to go. But das allein was die Weg is aderch to können wir is wenig. I wird nicht wissen in welche Seite to gain, because having a good road is not enough. If you don't know which way to go, you can go down a good path, but it's the wrong direction. So there were clear signs. As euch in Ruchnis, the same is true spiritually. As euch dem was die Weg to Divrei Torah is a green given of breite Weg. Firstly, the way to the words of Torah is easy and clear. So the Torah is the city of refuge. We all have imperfections. We all need refuge. The words of Torah are easy to access, especially nowadays. With a click of a button, you can enter Torah study. It's all accessible. It's all there for you. So those cities of refuge are easy. They're paved roads. But furthermore, weist an der Eibishter in welche Seite zu gehen. God shows you. He puts up signs to show you which direction to go. Mitzad bechira, chavshis, was es ist gegeben geworden, because there's free choice. Because it's free choice, and you can take the path of death, not necessarily the path of life. Is if you won't be shown the way, can gain chas v'shalom in the link your side, you can go on the left way, the wrong way. You can choose death and evil. Therefore, God is standing for every single one of us with a sign pointing, this is the way to the city of refuge. He's warning you to go in the right direction. We state as it's written. You should choose life. There's God assisting you. And the Rebbe makes reference over here to chapter 13 of Tanya. That's the God assisting that we spoke about in Tanya. That God gives the power of mind over heart. He gives the power of light over darkness. So he makes it easy, relatively easy, to see which way is the right way. Not only is Torah accessible, but it's easy to see that this is the true path. The world could be confusing, but when you take that path, you start to see the light inside it and how the other ways are darkness. So God assists you. And in many different ways, he's going to assist you and guide you. If you want to make the right thing, do the right thing, he'll guide you. Different things happen in people's lives that kind of push them in directions. A friend of mine wanted to go to the States. This whole thing going to the States, and all of a sudden, he couldn't get visas for his kids. Random. He never thought it would be an issue. He couldn't get visas, and he got held up for like 6 months. And to him, it was like a clear indication to God, like, wait, hold your horses. Like, who says it's the right decision? Take it slow. If you want to do the right thing, Hashem will push you in the right direction. He'll lead you in the right way. He's standing there with a sign guiding you to the right place. You can ignore the signs, but signs come in your life to push you in the right direction. Because we have free choice, you could choose the wrong way. We need God's assistance. Because we could choose the wrong way, we need God's assistance. That God should tell you, this is the way. Go in this path, which is the way to goodness and life. Even the great sage Rabbi Hoch ben Zakkai said, I don't know which way I'm going. I don't know if I'm going in the right direction. Because you can under it, for sure others. Especially us who are in a very dark spiritual time, we can't know which way we're going. We need God's assistance. As the Eibush is also that God should tell us where to go. So, in other words, I think what the Rebbe is saying is open up a door. Like, don't feel like you know everything. Don't feel like you're so certain. A day shouldn't pass that you didn't talk to God and plead with Him to help you and guide you. There's lots of things that seem to be right and they're wrong, and things that seem to be wrong and they're right. It's hard to know in each step of the way which way to go. It's hard to know. You need God's assistance. And so, acknowledge that. Acknowledge that we need Hashem to guide us. And B, praise Him and ask Him for that guidance. And C is what's coming next. That if you're busy helping other people, guiding others, that's the best way of getting Hashem to guide you. So, hey, as der Eibusher soll in weisen, wohin zu gehen. If you want Hashem to show you where to go and lead you on the right path. So many people, you can go in circles. You can spend a lifetime in circles going until you realize that it was all one big waste of time. So you need Hashem to guide us. If you want Hashem to give you that clear guidance, then you got to behave in such a way. Because God deals with people measure for measure. Then if they're parshas drachim, every single one of us has to go to the fork in the road, the crossroads, where staying Indian, where there's Jews standing, who wasting Indian verches Zeit to gain. They don't know where to go. We have to go to them and cry out, Miklot, Miklot. Here, this is the way. This is where there's a city of refuge. Gate zum rechten Zeit, go to the right side. Which will take you to this refuge. Dorten is on Miklot from Gol Adam. There you'll be protected from the relative who can avenge the blood. From them Satan was his This refers to the Satan who first gets you to sin and then he tries to get you punished for the sin. So get in the chas v'sholem in their link side. Don't go, God forbid, into the left side. Was feared in she'el vayuvadein, and it takes you to the path road to hell. Take the right path. So that's our job. You want God to take care of you, take care of other Jews. Help others. There's certain things that you know clearly. There's certain areas that you're not sure, and you need God's guidance. There's other things that are clear. To keep kosher, to keep Shabbos, to do the mitzvahs. Those things are clear. They're not vague. Help other Jews go on the right path. Because Jews are confused. If they're not keeping Torah mitzvahs, they're confused. They have this Jewish guilt. They go to Shul Yom Kippur. They fast. They have certain things that they're crazy about and they'll do 100%. Like, I know certain people, when it comes to Pesach, they are so frum about chametz, it's unbelievable. They will not let an iota of chametz come in the house. There may be more frum than other people that are frum. But Shabbos, kashrus, no. All of that out the window. But Pesach doesn't make sense. You ask them, it makes no sense, but that's just where they're confused. So our job is to work with people and to try to show them the way. Obviously in the right way, in a warm way, a caring way, not in a booster type of way, but we have to stand at the crossroads and help people, and they'll thank you for it. So there was one individual who, this must have been 8 or 9 years ago, happened to be going up with Mitzrayim, and it was Rosh Hashanah, so we were blowing shofar, so blowing shofar for people down Carlisle Street. And I'm not sure what, I was going with a friend, and we saw a few people sitting in a restaurant on Rosh Hashanah, not a kosher restaurant. But the door was open, so we just asked him, anyone Jewish here? So one of them said, yeah, I'm Jewish. He's sitting eating tray food. Did you hear shofar yet today? No, he didn't hear shofar. So we blew shofar in the restaurant. It happened to be that the owner of the restaurant was also Jewish. So we blew shofar in the restaurant, and because of that shofar, that's what the guy says. Anytime he sees us, these are the guys who made me about Jew. He started putting out tefillin, keeping Shabbos. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe. He didn't have any kids for a long time. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe. He had a whole story. He had a dream, and he had twins. He had a dream that he's going to have twins, and he had twins. There was a whole story going around in the community. But and whenever you see it, these are guys who made me from. I don't know how, if he's 100% from, but a lot changed. And we didn't know what we're doing. We're just blowing a shofar from another Jew. That's it. No, it didn't go past that. But you never know. So you have to stay. You got to be out there on the street. Be out there and help people. Don't keep it to yourself. You never know what kind of change you can make in a person's life. Yeah, I mentioned this also before, maybe earlier in the year, but there was a guy, he had a jewelry shop downtown Pittsburgh. And he was one guy, his name was Pablo. One guy who, whenever the Baruch would come to try to get him to put on tefillin, it was out of the question. He would scream at him, kick him out of the shop. He was angry, like aggressive. So, because he was so aggressive, I came a little bit later to that route, and so I didn't even go to that shop. It was already like off the book. You don't go there. Anyway, this Pablo, one time, a friend of his got him to come to Shul for Yom Kippur. That was it. Shul Yom Kippur. He was anti-religious as they come. But he came, I don't know why he came on Yom Kippur to Shul. And ever since that Yom Kippur, he became totally from. He never left to stop coming to shul for a Shabbos. Every Shabbos he's there. He started to learn Chassidus, grew a beard. He's totally like he's an unbelievable chassid from that one Yom Kippur. Someone convinced him to come to shul Yom Kippur. So you never know when it's going to happen. But that's our job. We can't keep it to ourselves. We meet another Jew. We have to try out of love for a fellow Jew. This is not like preaching. It's not like scoring brownie points or getting heaven. It's not what it's about at all. To the point that you have to be ready to give up all your heaven to help another Jew. This is not a selfish thing at all. Like some lahavdil, others that go around that they're doing it so that they can get points. This is exactly the opposite. This is out of love for a fellow Jew, like your own child. You do everything to keep them, to get them on the right path. We want to see them living the life that they should be living. So you see a fellow Jew, this is your family. This is your flesh and blood. If you see them going the wrong path, in a way that you think they are likely to listen, but it's your responsibility to somehow influence them. So you go to the city of refuge. Und das ist, the Aufgabe, was liegt auf jedem einen. This is the responsibility that lies on the shoulders of every individual. Wegstellen sich auf Parshas Drachim. We have to put ourselves at the crossroad. The crossroad doesn't mean physically the street, but when you're sitting on a plane and there's someone next to you and they're Jewish or not Jewish, tell them about the 7 Noahide laws. Wherever you are, you have to be a lamplighter. When Shrine Miklat, we have to cry out, this is the city of refuge. Weisen die Weg, wohin man darf gehen. Show them the way. Even though in order to do that, that means you have to be on the street all day, at the crossroads, not the most comfortable place. In an art was starting is da Weg, was führt euch die linke Seite. And at this crossroads is another path that starts right over here. That goes to the wrong way. It goes to the way of sin, and you have to stand there. Don't worry about that. You're fulfilling your mission in life. It's not, you want to be in the study hall, you want to be in the shul, you want to be in this comfortable place. But says the Rebbe, no, you go to some forlorn, far island or remote city where it is possible to go on the wrong path. That's why you have to go there, to teach Jews to go on the right path. And that's your mission in life. Read the Mimer from Mordechai Tzaddik, Hashem, Habal Shem Tov, like the saying goes from Mordechai Tzaddik, he was one of the hidden tzaddikim, he said in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, es kommt herab an Neshama auf der Welt und lebt ab 70, 80 Jahre. You can have a soul that comes and lives for 70, 80 years. So it could be that this person's mission in the 70 and 80 years was to do one favor to one Jew. Spiritual and even physical. That might be your whole mission in life, to do that favor for a Jew. So don't underestimate what it means to go out there at the crossroads and say, well, that could be my whole purpose in life. My purpose is to learn Torah, to do mitzvahs, no, it could be your purpose is to stand there and be a sign to guide this Jew to the right path. Is doch gedei stehen die ganze Zeit der Parshas Drachim. So it's worthwhile sitting 70, 80 years on the crossroads. Gedei zu weisen einmal ayid die Weg, was führt zu Torah miklat. If you show one Jew the right way, even if it was one Jew that you inspired in your 70, 80 years standing at the crossroads, it's worth it. That might be your whole purpose in life. So certainly we have to see ourselves always at the crossroads and always try any person that we could influence or inspire. It's incumbent upon us to guide them the right way, and that might be our mission, that one individual.
Does all this get revealed to us when we pass away? Do we sort of stay there and we're told everything that we could have and should have done, that opportunity you missed in the year 1998, you were sitting at that corner and you missed it.
Yeah, certainly after 120, people get to see a lot more about what their life was about. They say basically it's like a movie. You watch a movie and they let you make a call on was that right, was that not right. You basically make your own judgment. But more than that, when Mashiach comes, then we'll for sure see all the details. We don't have to wait till after 120. Well, Mashiach comes now, we'll get to see everything that was accomplished. But it's hard to describe or hard to put into words the greatness of what it means to help another Jew. and especially a Jew who's lost. It says that a person who gets a Jew who's coming from nowhere and bringing them back, and especially someone who's converting, that means it's a Jewish soul who was in a very challenging situation, and they were brought back and shown the way. So if you can be part of that, that's an unbelievable source. Unbelievable merit to guide people, to show people. Yeah, so we just got to thank you for the class. I get that. I guess it's over. Yeah, so and one day we'll find out everything. That's for sure. Okay, so God willing, we have love through Yud Gimel. So we'll, God willing, finish the last half of Sicha at 2 o'clock. And we'll
To
have
be
a wonderful
continued.
rest of the day.
Thank you.